It was supposed to be a routine traffic stop, nothing unusual, just another moment on a quiet stretch of road. But for one black driver, this encounter would take a shocking turn. As the officer approached, tensions rose, and what happened next seemed ripped straight out of a crime drama. Evidence mysteriously discovered in the driver's car pointed to something far more sinister. What the officer didn't know, however, was that this driver had a secret weapon, a hidden recording device planted for a federal investigation. This device would capture every word, every move, and every twist in a case that would challenge the trust we place in those meant to protect us. Was it a setup, or was the truth finally about to come to light? Stay tuned as we unravel this real-life story that exposes the hidden layers of justice and accountability. The driver, a community organizer known for speaking out against injustice, had always been cautious during interactions with law enforcement. That day, his instincts told him something wasn't right. The officer's tone was sharp, his actions deliberate, and soon the man found himself watching in disbelief as the officer claimed to find a small bag of drugs in his car, a bag he had never seen before. Unbeknownst to the officer, the man had recently agreed to assist in a federal investigation targeting corruption within the local police department. His car was rigged with a discreet recording device, capturing everything. Every word, every action, and every questionable move was documented in real time. As the officer radioed in his discovery, the driver remained calm, knowing the evidence would speak for itself. But the question lingered. Was this the officer's first time doing this, or was it part of a larger pattern? As the officer waited for backup, the driver couldn't help but reflect on all the stories he'd heard over the years. Accounts of people being unfairly targeted, lives derailed by false accusations. He had spent so much time advocating for change, but now he was the one caught in the crosshairs. His heart raced, yet he kept his composure. Every second of this encounter was being recorded, but would that be enough to protect him? Meanwhile, the officer appeared confident, almost rehearsed, as if this wasn't his first time staging such an event. The driver noticed small details, the way the officer glanced nervously toward his dashcam, the hurried manner in which he handled the supposed evidence. It felt calculated. At the same time, the driver knew his role in the federal investigation carried risks. Could this stop be a coincidence, or had someone tipped off the wrong people? As the minutes dragged on, the driver's mind raced. Backup arrived, and with it came more officers, all with watchful eyes and ready hands. The situation felt heavy, like a storm about to break. The officer who initiated the stop recounted his version of events, emphasizing the discovery in the car, while the driver silently observed. He couldn't help but wonder how deep this went. Were the other officers in on it, or were they just taking the story at face value? The tension between the driver and the officers was palpable. Questions were fired at him, their tone shifting between accusatory and dismissive, as if his innocence had already been ruled out. Still, he remained calm, knowing the truth was on his side. But he couldn't ignore the nagging thought. Would the recording be enough? Would anyone believe him? Then one officer stepped closer, a shadow of doubt flickering across his face. It was as if he sensed something wasn't adding up. But before he could speak, the first officer cut him off, steering the narrative back in his favor. The driver knew he was at the edge of something explosive. Either justice would break through, or the weight of corruption would crush him entirely. Just as the situation seemed to settle into a tense standoff, another car pulled up, an unmarked vehicle. Out stepped a plainclothes man with a sharp, commanding presence. He identified himself as an internal affairs investigator, flashing a badge that seemed to catch everyone off guard. The officer who planted the evidence visibly stiffened, his confidence faltering for the first time. The driver's mind raced. Was this part of the federal operation, or had something else been set into motion? The investigator demanded a full account of the traffic stop, and suddenly the atmosphere shifted. The officers, who had been so sure of their actions moments earlier, were now exchanging uneasy glances. The first officer stumbled over his words, his narrative starting to unravel under the investigator's pointed questions. Then came the twist that no one expected. The investigator turned to the driver and said, "You're coming with me." For a moment, the driver's heart sank, confusion flooding his thoughts. Was this a betrayal? Or was it a calculated move to protect him from the growing tension on the scene? As he stepped into the unmarked car, the weight of the moment pressed down harder than ever, leaving everyone wondering what would happen next. Inside the unmarked car, the driver's nerves were on edge. The investigator's silence only added to the weight of the situation. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but firm. "We've been watching that officer for months. Your recording may be the evidence we need to bring everything to light." Relief washed over the driver, but it was short-lived. The investigator added, "This isn't over. You're now part of something much bigger." Meanwhile, back at the scene, the officers were left scrambling. Unbeknownst to them, the investigator's car had a live feed transmitting the driver's hidden recording to a secure location. Every moment of the stop, every word spoken, and every action taken was now undeniable evidence. The officer's staged discovery of the drugs was laid bare, exposing not only his corruption, but hints of a wider network of misconduct. As the driver processed the weight of what he'd just heard, the investigator's radio crackled. "We have a situation," the voice said. The investigator's expression darkened. "Looks like someone else knows about this operation." The driver's relief turned to dread as he realized this wasn't just about one bad cop, it was about dismantling a system, and the stakes had just gotten higher. In the weeks that followed, the recording became a turning point in the investigation. It not only confirmed the officer's misconduct, but revealed a troubling pattern within the department. The evidence sparked a series of internal reviews, suspensions, and indictments, exposing a culture of corruption that had long operated in the shadows. For the driver, it was a bittersweet victory. While he was grateful for the opportunity to stand up for justice, the experience left him deeply shaken. It reminded him of the risks so many face daily and the importance of holding systems accountable. The officer, once confident in his ability to manipulate the truth, faced charges that could end his career. The driver's courage and quick thinking had set the wheels of justice in motion. As he returned to his community, he carried a renewed determination to fight for change, knowing this battle was just the beginning.